talk to you today about autoimmune disorders, my autoimmune specifically. I know it is a problem that many people struggle with today, and so I just want to share my journey with you. So, my entire life I was on special diets. When I was younger, I just had all sorts of digestive problems, and after I became a mother, my daughter was diagnosed with celiac, and I started eating gluten-free and realized that I do have celiac as well. I've never been tested for it, but every doctor I've talked to has said if you stopped eating gluten and it works, you might as well just keep doing that. And so, but my little sister did get the genetic testing and had the marker for it, so it just makes sense that it runs in the family. And when I was in my 20s, I was going through a tremendous amount of trauma. I was in a very abusive relationship. I had just lost my brother to suicide. I was working overnights. I had 2 small children. And so that led to my gallbladder stopped working. And I'm not quite sure why, but they ended up removing it. After it was removed, I was just in pain every single day. My arms hurt, my muscles hurt, my bones hurt. Everything felt like it was on fire, and I had to stay like this. I couldn't, it just hurt so bad. I couldn't even let go of myself. And my younger sister had suffered from fibromyalgia for basically her entire life and was diagnosed in her 20s. Since all of this, I've done a lot of studying on autoimmune disorders, and they are triggered by some sort of trauma or illness or something like that. And then once they surface, they say that they can be lifelong, but there's also ways to go into remission. So it's never like you can undo having it, but you can get it to where the symptoms are livable, where you no longer suffer from it. And that's what I've done with my fibromyalgia. When I got diagnosed with it, I was just exhausted and not in a place where I could fight it. And so I ended up just going for pain medication because it was easy and it worked at first. Fast forward 6 years later, I was completely strung out. I couldn't take care of my kids. I couldn't get out of bed. I could hardly go to work. I was almost 200 pounds. I hadn't eaten in months. I was basically dead. And if I wouldn't have stopped, I would have been dead within, I don't know, less than a month for sure. Luckily, my children were able to go live with my mother, and I got in a little trouble with the law, and thank goodness had to go to counseling. And right at that time, I was stopping all of the pills, and so I really needed drug and alcohol counseling at that time in my life. So I was really glad that I had gotten in trouble and I had the opportunity to get that help. During that time, I started changing my way of thinking. I started changing my diet. Not eating anything for a long time. I didn't really have much of a diet, so I introduced things slowly, and I noticed that as I was making these changes, it was also affecting my pain levels, and I noticed when I had pain and why I had pain and how to avoid it in the future. And so yoga was a big part of that, and it helped me just in every area of my life. And then I got to be probably the healthiest of my entire life, and I got a job that I dearly love, but it's extremely stressful and it can be very re-traumatizing. And so while working this job, my thyroid went bananas. In 2018, I got sick and my thyroid just went into hyper overdrive, and that affected everything. I felt horrible. I was always shaking. My heart was racing. My resting heart rate was like 110, 120 all the time. It was horrible. I couldn't sleep. I dropped down to 99 pounds. And then luckily I got in with a doctor, got on my medication. And over the last year, they've put me on it. My thyroid is evened out. Then it drops down low. Then they take me off of it, and then it skyrockets and back and forth and back and forth. And this is pretty normal, I guess, for thyroid disorders until they figure out the right dosing of the medication. And at first I was told that the only way to help this would be like very intensive either surgery or iodine treatment or something. And of course that freaks me out because being a recovering opioid addict, I don't want any surgery that I don't have to have because that involves pain medicine, and I just would rather avoid it completely if at all possible. But luckily I saw an endocrinologist yesterday, and she said that they're finding, like with smaller treatments and smaller doses of the medicine, that maybe some of those invasive things are not necessary, and she mentioned remission. So I'm going to be doing some studying on thyroid and diets, things like that. If you have any suggestions, please let me know. But I'm going to see with a combination of changing things, how I can go into remission a little bit faster, of course, with the use of the medication and seeing my doctor regularly. And I'm not recommending any medical treatment for anybody else. I would never do that. I'm not a doctor. But I'm just letting you know what's going on with my stuff, so that maybe if it's something you're going through, if something I've done or something I'm doing is helpful to you, or the other way around, we can just share our knowledge and maybe help each other with our autoimmunes, you know. So I try always to stay as healthy as possible so that my immune system is at its best, but you know, it goes up and down just like everything else in life. So that, I guess, is it right now where I'm at with my autoimmune. I mean, I feel pretty good because I'm on the medication and it's been working. So a little sleepy because I think my thyroid's a little low, but since I just stopped the medication, I'll probably even out within a few days. So like I said, if you have any information or knowledge about thyroid, anything that you've tried, if you have autoimmune with your thyroid, I'm pretty sure they're going to diagnose me with Graves' disease. That's what the doctor said. But I also know that Hashimoto's is something that people struggle with. So anything about thyroids or whatever autoimmune you're currently going through, if you found any tricks that you want to share with other people, please feel free to share those. Thank you so much. I will talk with you guys soon. Namaste, friends.